Hal, we're live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining another Black Game Pros sessions on this wonderful Wednesday. For everybody, let me turn the volume down a little bit. It's a little bit loud with the background music. I want to be able to have this wonderful conversation with you all. For the people all over the world joining, please, if you're watching this live, or even if you're watching this on demand later, leave a like, share the video. It helps the algorithm. It's much appreciated. I think it's important to get as many eyeballs on these conversations that I have with these amazing people in our industry as possible. And I need your help for that. Anywho, let me get into today's calendar. Before I introduce the guests, I actually got a message earlier today from April Welch with a reminder that the ESA Foundation still has their their scholarship open for the gaming program. So for those interested in applying, I think you need to be in the States for that. I'm going to put the link in the chat or on the screen. So it's the ESA Foundation Scholarship 2026. Google it if you can. I don't think it's clickable, but Google it, and if you're interested, go figure it out and get that bag and get that get that scholarship so that you can get into the industry. All right. So for those joining for the first time, hello, welcome. I'm Leon. I'm been at Ubisoft. I work at Ubisoft for those who don't know. I've been there for 20 years this year, so I'm an old guy that has been in the industry for a while. Black Game Pro Sessions is a space where I sit down with people from our industry. We're not just doing the work, but shaping culture through it. Today's conversation is an interesting one. I think I say that every week, but this is the cool thing is, like I said, I've been in the industry for a while, and this is the first time I've met someone with this job description that I have so many questions. So we're going to talk about it. Because what she touches on is something that we don't talk about enough. It's not just about how stories are created, but how they are preserved. Because if you think about it, our industry is obsessed with what is next. The next release, the next technology, the next big moment, AI. But very few people are focused on what we choose to carry forward. And that's where today's guest comes in. Leah Williams, Senior Digital Archivist at Blizzard Entertainment, where she helps preserve and share the stories behind some of the most beloved games in the world. But more importantly, she operates at the intersection of storytelling, memory, and community, because preserving stories isn't neutral. It shapes how we understand the past, it influences what we value in the present, and it defines what future generations will even know existed. So this is very much a voice to power conversation in this April month, voice to power, where I have amazing conversation with people in the industry. Because when you influence what gets remembered, you influence what people believe is possible. So Lee's deeply passionate about creativity, storytelling, and the communities that bring games to life. And she believes storytelling should spark connection long after a moment ends. And I think that is exactly where we're going to go today. So with any further ado, Lee, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good.
Pretty good. Why are you doing great?
Pretty good. Very good. It's early morning, Still haven't had any coffee, but we'll be able to get through it.
I hope the conversation will energize you so you don't need it.
100%.
But feel free to grab yourself a coffee if you need.
Look, you got some. I should have.
It's anywho, welcome. Thank you for your time and having this conversation about the amazing work you have been doing at Blizzard.
No problem. I'm super excited to share stories and share what I do. It's
So let me dive right into that because. Under your name, it says Senior Digital Archivist at Blizzard Entertainment.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, but what does that mean?
So
I'm gonna go right into it. What does that mean?
Yeah, let's go right into it. Being a Senior Digital Archivist, funny enough, every time I say it, people are like, what are you saying? And I'm like, think of Indiana Jones, but for the digital world, that's kind of what I'm in charge of. So I collect from all game teams all across all of the Blizzard that Blizzard proper, and I kind of not necessarily a squirrel, but I kind of hoard it a little bit. I add some metadata to it. I
Mhm.
make sure that it is findable later. I may try to make sure that, give credit where credit is due, because that is a very big thing, is that sometimes artists don't put their names on things.
Yep.
So, uh, who made this? But then on the back end of that is I field requests. So when
Mhm.
people who necessarily are working on the products team or the game teams, or any part of Blizzard, and they're like, hey, do you have the original WoW box art? Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Which one? I have the vanilla, I have Burning Crusades, I have as time goes on. So it's more of a job to keep the reference going, but also
Mhm.
keeping the story going. There are so much art that the teams produce, and then sometimes it gets forgotten, or there's like a piece that hasn't been seen the light of day in so long. So I'm able to bring that back up and help all support teams as possible.
That sounds like such a cool gig. That sounds like such a cool gig. So basically, you know everything about Blizzard and all the games and IPs that they've created,
Yeah, yeah.
or at least you have a
I have
handle
a,
on all
I
of
have a
that.
good grasp. I talk to my manager all the time, and we always make the joke of, you're like, man, I'm tired of learning about a new thing, because every there we think we have a good grasp on what Blizzard is, but as one could probably think, Blizzard is very, very large. So
Mhm.
there's little pockets of new discoveries that we find on a regular basis. They're like, oh man, I didn't know about this, or man, I didn't know you had this, and it's in someone's what I like to say, their closet, which is usually just on their desktop. So it's
That's the way
really,
to store your things. I mean,
yeah, please don't store it not on your personal, put it in OneDrive, because it helps my life so much easier. But yeah, so that I get to see a lot.
I understand. Yeah. Okay. So let's rewind.
Mhm.
How the heck did you land a job like this?
Yeah, so my background is in graphic design and photography, which that doesn't necessarily equal this.
Mhm.
But while I was in college, I worked for a photographer, and I helped him tag his oh my god, tag his photos. He did this
Mhm.
car racing across America, and so I was tagging each car, so you'll be able to make the book to give to uh, the racers. And so from that, I kind of use that a little bit to say, hey, I've worked with metadata before. Um, and
Smart.
from there, I landed a job at Amgen, working as a digital asset coordinator. I was in
Mhm.
charge of organizing across all of the brochures, commercials, all anything that they produced. We wanted to make sure that we wanted to make sure that the agencies gave us the file, because if we ever needed to update something, because as you can learn with biopharmaceuticals, every time you got to update that text anytime something happens to
Mhm.
during a trial. So I was in charge of quality checking material. I would literally open up a file. Do we have everything? Close it, put it away, add some metadata. So I did that for 3 years, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm ready for my next step. So I got a contracting role with Funimation, Crunchyroll at the time. I think now it's just Crunchyroll. But I was a data analyst or data specialist. So I would make sure that for this marketing team, I would get all the information from our Japanese studios
Mhm.
and apply anything and everything, so the marketing team knows, like, hey, this is a poster for Jujutsu Kaisen, and this is how you can use it, or in this is the language that it's being translated in. that was fun for a year. And then I was like, you know what? Let's see what's out there. So I shameless plug, applied to everything on LinkedIn. Oh my God. I was just, that easy apply.
We've all been there, I think. Yeah,
we've all been there where you're just like, I'm just going to
just fire broadly,
fire broadly, see what's gonna happen. So I applied.
So your intention was never per se to go into games. It was just...
No, not at all. Funny enough, I wouldn't necessarily, before this role, I never actually was considered myself a gamer. Like everyone knows that everyone played Wii at the time. Everyone played a little bit of the Nintendo games, but I personally, I would not play any PC games. I didn't have a PC. Mm-hmm. A little bit of Candy Crush on my phone for a period of time, but I wasn't a gamer, so I never thought to go into games. But I got a call being like, "Hey, we would love to," or an email, "We would love to schedule you for an interview." And I was like, "Oh, I guess I got an interview with this company named Blizzard."
Blizzard. Did it ring a bell when you saw it? Or?
Not really. Funny enough, when I started to do research, I was like, okay, World of Warcraft. I think my cousin played that at our kitchen table at one point. I'd never played it, but I know that I had some family members play it. So okay, cool, yeah, sure. And got the job, and I was like, man, what did I just get myself into? A whole new world. I didn't know. I literally was just stepping into something that, I know how Photoshop works. I know how Illustrator works. I know how design works. But stepping into a company where it's completely creative, going from biopharmaceuticals, corporate,
yeah,
to in the entertainment industry, it was whiplash.
Culture shock.
It was culture shock. And I'm like, man, but then, being in the company and being moving to Irvine and being at the company truly was magical, because I think it was my first time being like, oh, this is where I was supposed to be. Being around creatives and feeling like, oh, this is where I belonged. This is where the cool, the people with the pink hair and people wearing slacks, all shorts all day, t-shirt. Yeah, this is great. I love it so much. So that's my journey to Blizzard via LinkedIn.
It's super interesting because a lot of people. We had a conversation before going live. A lot of people think that the only way you can get into video gaming is if you're a game producer, or a content creator, or a journalist. I don't think journalism is an option that much anymore, but still. And it's I had the same thing. I knew about Ubisoft before I applied. I used to be a nerd back in the days. I'm still a nerd. I'm proud to be, but when I applied for the job, I first of all didn't expect I would get the job. I was looking for a job because I was just bankrupted my company. I needed money. I was like, oh, I need same kind of thing. Let's apply to everything.
Yeah.
And then Ubisoft invited me in. But then when I started and when I finally got the job, which was super cool, of course, I felt like an imposter because I was surrounded by all these creative, amazing people that they were talking about terminology I'd never heard of. I was like,
oh my God. How did you do it? I had to figure out. I was like, what are you saying? The ROIs and just so many different acronyms for different things.
Yeah, or just game terminology.
Yes, game terminology.
I remember going on this press trip once, or I don't know, press trip once, and a colleague of mine, it was not per se game terminology, but he was showing something a new product on his iPad. This was the iPad just came out. Oh. And he was like, "Oh, you don't have an iPad?" It's like, man, I don't even have any money. I'm still in the first few months. I'm still trying to recover from my bankruptcy.
Come on.
Yeah, it's like You want to give me an iPad, I'll take it gladly. But it sometimes feels like then you're kind of like an outsider in that industry. But I think, and I told that to you earlier as well, like I think that was probably the reason why you were hired, because they needed someone with your expertise, with your eye, your level of detail. And regardless if you're a gamer or not, no, you bring value to this organization with the skill set that you have.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's super interesting. So, I mean, we kind of touched on it already, but when people do kind of understand what you do, what is something about your work that people constantly misunderstand?
Well, that's a great question. What is, I guess the overall conversation, and this was actually a conversation that got brought up at GDC this past year, which is, what is game preservation? So many people have very different ideas of what game preservation is, and so trying to find what that standard of, is it preserving the actual final product? Is it preserving the components? Is it doing just the code and the builds, and that's game preservation? So that's one of the biggest misunderstandings, I think, at least for my role. I don't know how other game companies are doing it, but I don't touch code. That I'm gonna leave that to the professionals, the IT people. I don't have a background in engineering. It doesn't make sense for me to try to even understand. Look at the Matrix. It's not me. But
I love the analogy.
But it's just like I think that's the biggest thing, is like, I'm more on the art side of things. And early document side of things, and trying to preserve would we be able to make more things from this one thing that you created? Are we able to put it in a book? Are we able to do a retrospective, put in a presentation? That's the beauty of it. I think of my job is I'm able to make sure that this one element that you thought you were creating for this one specific purpose in the game, or in launching the game, or for marketing, it gets to keep living after that fact.
It's so cool. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to be super unprofessional because I'm going to have to close my window because I'm blinded by the sunlight. Normally at this time there's no sun here. So give me 2 seconds. I'm sorry.
No problem.
It's so unprofessional.
I had a window right here, but I'm like, this is apparently my
much better. The light is much better.
You look great.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. I try. Moisturize every day. So another question, especially about the work that you do and the decisions that you have to make when it comes to, what do you preserve and what don't you preserve?
Yeah.
What is a decision within that in your role that carries more weight than people might expect?
Yeah. So there is definitely two flip sides of the coin, where earlier I said I'm kind of like a squirrel and hoarding things.
Exactly.
Which is, yes, I want it all. I want to see everything. Give it. But then there comes to a point where it's like, okay, what is actually not necessarily determining what is valuable, but what is going to be that's a great, how am I supposed to say this? What is going to be able to be utilized furthermore? Like, how can, like, if I preserve this texture for this one specific thing, is it better for me to preserve the model, the final model, or each layered texture that goes into the model?
It's so interesting because you never really think about it like that. So, but who decides that? Is that you? Is that you do you make recommendations, or how does that work?
We have a team. I am not just a team of one, but I have it's not a big team, but we have a small team, and we have these conversations. But what we've tried to do is make sure that we are referencing and having these conversations with game teams, with other video game archivist professionals, being like, okay, what, how and what is video game preservation, and are we doing the right thing? Also, let's be honest, storage costs always are sky high, so we have to make sure that we're being constantly aware of the storage costs and constantly aware of like, okay, what is going to be valuable for the whole that we have.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that in that you've probably come across something that made you think this is something that should have been preserved, but it wasn't.
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time.
But what makes you decide then at that time to be okay? This is, I don't want to die on this hill. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. So there is there's an element of my job where it's I am only one versus a game team that has 200.
Yeah.
And Blizzard has many IPs. So being one versus thousands, there's only so much that you can do, and you have to. I've learned that I have to have grace for myself, because there are going to be some things that I just don't catch, just because they're just producing at such a rapid rate, and all the creatives. Some people like to hoard their stuff. They like to keep it really close to their chest. All right, cool. But a lot of my job is advocacy. It is going to the creatives and being like, hey, let me save this for you. And I've gone to them and being like, hey, as you continue to grow in your career, as you, maybe even if you were to leave the company, come back, everyone rotates through. Let's make sure your legacy is preserved. Let's make sure that your art and the time that you had here at Blizzard is captured, is preserved, is able to be showcased when we have our, Blizzard museums or the BlizzCons or whatever. Because, everyone wants to feel valuable in some regard, regardless if you are a UI artist or a marketing professional or the people who work on our beautiful books. It is important that we capture the legacy that they're continuing to build as we build Blizzard's legacy.
Wow, that's so beautifully said. properly media trained.
Media training was great.
That was good. Wow. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of people might think that, yeah, but it's just entertainment. It's games. Why would you have to preserve it? And I think the work that you're doing is super important, because it's more than games. It's art. And on top of that, it's art that some people or some teams have spent years of their life on creating. Yes. And then that art is being, enjoyed by millions and millions of people. So it needs to be preserved. So I assume that whenever you go to these people and be like, hey, we want to save or preserve or keep your art, or for future, that it's an honor for them.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of when people actually find out that they have an archivist, they're like, oh my god, what? Here, there's those people who just be like, hey, I have these things, do you want it? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then they give me like terabytes worth of files, and I'm like, thank you. Oh, this is great.
But then do you have to go through everything?
Go through terabytes worth of files. It's a process, but I'm always very appreciative. And I truly say this to every creative out there: if you do know that your company has one of these, or has a DAM in any regard, digital asset management system, try to give your stuff to that team, because it is sometimes it's always left on some producer to find. I think we were having this conversation earlier. Find this really, really old asset on top of their regular job. No one really has the time. So I am the middleman on trying to find really old assets, so someone else doesn't have to.
I mean, I think you're selling yourself too short, though. I mean, I understand that indeed, maybe logistically you're the middleman, but you're you're a bit like kind of like the librarian that collects everything, and that for future generations makes that available either to learn from or to use within new games or get inspired by or whatever.
Yeah.
It's great. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation. But a lot of times I talk to people that do amazing things as well, but like narrative design or like game design and things. But it's so important that all of that amazing work that gets done by these creative people, that it get archived, and that people that you can learn from it. That it's not just frivolous entertainment, like fast-moving consumer goods. You take it and you consume it and it's gone. No, super cool, cool. So, I mean, I assume that you've gone through many stories and had many conversations. What's the story that you came across that genuinely stayed with you?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the biggest stories that I love, and I make sure to have in-person chats or virtual chats with many people within our company, and learning from those who have been here since the beginning, because we do have those people who have been here since the inception of Blizzard, and and then finding and talking to them, and they were like, oh yeah, we had this one thing we worked on and it was a great time, and here are those files. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know this was real. But then it's also the impact on the flip side is when I have helped somebody with their research. And when I'm saying research, it's internal research, because I do see that question is like, is it accessible beyond the public? I am an internal archive, so no. But it is something of like, I'm able to help an artist realize what can they do next. I've had multiple times where I've delivered some files, and then later on I see when they do the art station, art blasts that the game teams do from time to time, and I'm like, I remember that name, and that looks kind of like what I gave them, but way better. Or they took that environment and blasted it and made it completely different. So that's one of the biggest things. It's like, it's so exciting to see how I'm able to impact and elevate people's creative process.
So I mean, what was the moment where you realized that the impact of your work went beyond just documentation and archiving? What was that moment that you were like, this actually helps? It's more than just creating a database.
Yeah. So I think the biggest moment for me, funny enough, was the latest BlizzCon. BlizzCon 23, 24, I don't remember what year it was. Apologies, BlizzCon team. But when this was my first BlizzCon, I walked in and I went into the Diablo area, and I'm like, oh man, I recognize every single one of these files, and I know the team that created these files. And I remember like physically seeing the pieces that I delivered you guys. You were looking for a 3D model of the sorcerer from D3. Cool. Now seeing how they utilize that and to create new things, and I'm like, man, I'm doing work. It's when you step into the physical realm and things get printed out.
Yeah, it gets real.
It gets really real. It's so cool. And then another thing is like, we do have a museum on campus, and I do help our museum curator is a part of our Blizzard Archives team. And helping her gather.
Such a cool job. That's such a cool job. Wow. I'm sorry to interrupt.
She does have a really cool job. but helping her gather files from different various game teams, or gather files around, and then when she makes the museum, ah, art. I'm like, man, I gathered that for her. So it's really fun.
It's so interesting. I'm learning a lot. So talking about the artists, the creators, what responsibility do they have, knowing their work might become part of history? Do they have a responsibility, or should they just focus on creating?
I would say for creatives, and what I try to evangelize across is, please do a great file name. Don't name it image final v2 underscore final really final version. We
final,
don't use, like, we try to make sure that our creatives are being conscious of the forever. It is a ongoing process. I've only been at Blizzard for 4 years, but from
4 years of school,
4 years of school. Next year I get a sword. Super excited. But from when I started, I can see the transition and see how the advocacy that our team has done to impact of, naming conventions, making sure that people are putting their names on the art that they're doing, having a system to where we're more archiving as we go rather than being a retroactive being an afterthought. So that's the biggest thing. It's always nice to know that as time goes on, we're consistently getting more, because we're working towards a more holistic part of the process and making sure that the archive is the part of the workflow, and not just an afterthought. Yeah.
That's a great achievement, I must say. I think you're further than maybe other companies that I know or might work for.
Yeah.
How does, I'm sure AI has a role, or you guys have an opinion on how AI could work. Do you guys use it, or if they're...
So AI in archiving is a new, there is a nice, beautiful process that I would like to say is helpful for someone like me, knowing that these teams are producing at a rapid rate. Sometimes I cannot tag everything. So the way I utilize AI is just in the tagging realm, because that is going to help me so far along. Basic metadata, great. AI is I don't know how the game teams are using it. I know that we at Blizzard are very conscious of the conversation around AI, but because I do not sit on the game teams, I cannot speak.
It's like talking more about like from an archival perspective.
Yeah, from an archival standpoint, it's been beneficial. I know some different realms of archiving utilize it very differently, but we here make sure that it is very minimal, but it is helpful for tagging, because I don't want to always have to tag Thrall in every time I see him. But if they can tell me which image has Thrall in it, that is going to be helpful for when someone is randomly going to be like, hey, give me all the images of Thrall. And I'm like, what? Okay.
All of them?
All of them? Like, yeah.
Okay.
Give me any image of Thrall. If you could find it for me, that would be great. I'm like, okay, cool. Give me a sec. So.
Speaking of characters, who's your favorite Blizzard character? Or at least from an art perspective, or maybe the lore that you've discovered about this person, or maybe not. It's also fine.
I've leaned into Lilith a lot more. I never thought I would be a Diablo person, but when they brought out the Spirit Born class, and they sucked me in, and I finished the entire game, and I was like, I feel accomplished.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I actually finished D4. It was crazy. But it is Lilith is this Mother Lilith is one of my favorites, and then also because they just released their first African American character in Overwatch, Sierra. I don't play Overwatch because I suck at shooter games, but Sierra is amazing, and I'm like, I see myself in her. So it's really great.
That's a good segue to one of the titles that it has under your I mean, not here right now, but it says Microsoft Black and Gamer Chapter Lead.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me about that, please.
Yeah. So we make sure that those, every part of, let's see, how do I describe it? Yeah, we have Microsoft gaming communities. We have our Asian Pacific, and I am a chapter lead for Blizzard. I make sure that everyone on campus knows what Black representation looks like. I try to connect our fellow Black employees or the Black diaspora, because we're more than just a monolith. And yeah, it's been very rewarding. Like just this past, February, I was able to get our Blizzard to have the Pan-African flag colors, and now we have a logo in the Blizzard Pan-African.
That's so cool.
It's super cool, and we have a flag on campus. Like it's very beautiful to be embraced by a company and being able to constantly live out loud.
Amen.
And not just within Black community, but also, SWANA, API. It's been very, very beautiful role that I've been able to step into.
And was that something that was offered to you, or was something that you saw?
Oh, it's a volunteer. I'm just really loud. I'm just
I respect that.
Yeah, I'm real loud, and I just kind of just keep just doing things. I was an RA in college, and then I was like in everything. So I was that type of person that just if I find you, if I find you, I'm going to make sure that I'm your friend. And so that's kind of where I've taken this lead of just making sure that everyone feels welcomed and feels supported when they are, new to the company or old at the company, or just, everyone is on a different subset, either a support team or a game team, where they're not necessarily working with each other. So how can we bring each other together and network?
That's so you're the connector.
I'm the connector.
Yeah, but you mentioned the word representation. What does representation look like for you? What's your definition of that?
I think representation is necessarily, do you see yourself, or do you see a portion of your story being told? Not necessarily, not every representation has to be physical, but can you relate to the stories that are being told? Can you necessarily pinpoint a moment, or necessarily what's the words I'm looking for? An action that someone has done that you're like, this is relatable. Relatable to me, relatable to my coworker, relatable to, whatever fan this is going to. That's where I feel like representation lies, is like, yes, it's important to visually see representation, but also mentally see representations in the stories that are being told.
It's so important. It's to see your equal, to see someone that looks like you in different position than yourself, to open your mind. So going back to archives, do you think that archives today are unintentionally biased? And if so, how? Or not at all?
Yeah. So unfortunately, archiving is always biased because it's based upon who is archiving.
Yeah.
What I probably think is important necessarily might not be what is important for the person who comes after me, or the person who the person who is what I thought was important is not what the person before me thought was important. So there's always some um, bias in archiving. However, we can only do our best to make sure that
Mhm.
we're making the right calls at the time, because you're always learning, you're always growing. That's the biggest thing in this type of field is
Mhm.
as technology changes, uh, as art styles change, as you personally change, your thoughts of, oh man, I should have actually kept that random audio file. um,
Because you never know when you
you just
need it.
never know when you need it. But I should have kept it. But my thoughts 2 years ago didn't know what I know now. So there's always some level of bias in archiving, but try to do my best.
That's all you can do. I mean,
it's all you can do.
It was not a setup question like, why aren't you doing more?
Why aren't you doing more?
Why?
Do more. But yeah,
you're doing enough. You're doing your best. You're doing your best. That's more. You cannot ask for more than that, right? Come
yeah.
on.
And then sometimes you just start to give love to more of a project on one side than the other side of the project. So, there's always something that it's a give and take.
So you've been in the gaming industry now for 4 years.
Yes.
What is the one positive surprise that you got from our culture / industry, and one maybe not so positive?
One positive I would say is, and it shouldn't be hard to say a positive, but I would say the biggest positive, I think, is the constant change. I know it sounds weird, but to actually see an industry change within 4 years, and evolve in a positive realm. Like, granted, the other flip side of that is layoffs and all the bad things that happen over there. But the change in the perspectives that are opening up, and the voices that are getting louder, that is one of the positive things that I do love to see. A negative or a surprising thing is also that flip side is everything changes so quickly.
Whenever you get used to something, it's
whenever I get used to something, something's changed. What happened? I thought just last week we were doing something different. What do you mean there's a new file system or a new technology that we want to try out because it's new and hip and cool? Okay, cool. So that's one thing about the industry. And then also, it's so great to see creatives being unlocked. Seeing people living their truth and living their loudest truth, being in the pink hairs and the blue hairs and tattoos everywhere, and being like, this is who I am and I'm here to create, and this is me. So
that's one of the things that I love about the industry as well. I mean, I come from music, television, that kind of like weird world, and then to get into gaming and seeing indeed the whole, you can be whoever you want to be. It's like whatever. You don't have to. I mean, come to the office in flip flops if you want. I mean, please don't. But
but sure.
I remember having a conversation because I used to produce E3 for Ubisoft. I remember having a conversation, and I'm not going to name a name, with one of our speakers who wanted to wear flip flops on stage. I know it's come as you are, but maybe today wear your Jordans, please.
Maybe sneakers.
Yeah,
Think about it.
You can
Think about
expense them. You're gonna be on stage.
Yeah.
It's a business expense, like or something. So, for the people watching today and who want to build their own path in this industry, what should they be intentional about leaving behind, from your perspective?
From my perspective, so being
and I'm sorry. While you think I'm gonna have to close my window again because the noise is coming in. 2 seconds.
Man. Oh my God!
I know I'm so unprofessional. My bad.
Oh man, that is a great question. So
2 seconds.
People who want to be in the industry, what should they leave behind?
Yep.
I would say, from my perspective as an archivist, if you are doing something that is important to you, whether it is you're an actual artist, or if you are a producer, or if you are, working the music, it is important to leave your name on things. It is important to make sure, even if your studio or company or you as an individual, you don't have an archive yet, put your name on it, put it in a container and actually have a file system and label things, because you never know when they're going to do those documentaries and Netflix comes to you and be like, hey, you're important. Can you give us like all your early works? And you're like,
if only I would have saved it.
If only I would have saved it. I know so many people were like, man, I kind of just threw that out. I didn't really care about it.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Like, one of the first events that I ever did for Ubisoft was a launch party for a Nintendo Wii game called Red Steel. And it was like I was just working at Ubisoft for like 2 months, so I was like super fresh. But it was like one of the best events I ever did, because it was just a proper party. And I wish so much that I have like, I know that the pictures were taken and the video was taken, but I have no idea where it is. I haven't been able to find it back.
Yeah.
It's like it's that kind of stuff. So indeed, for the people watching, make sure you document your stuff. Give it proper naming. Give it proper naming so you can find it. Actually,
yes,
that's also one of those things. If you call it Image 1 or Video 2, it might be challenging in 10 years.
A little challenging. Yeah, label the box.
I mean, super specific question. But would you recommend people to store their stuff online, or would you have like a hard copy?
I would do both. Only reason, because hard copies, hard drives die, hard drives break, hard drives, that's the beauty of the physical, is that it is very, very, very fragile. So both online and a hard copy is probably your best bet. I think that is the standard of archiving. It's better to have 2 to 3 copies of anything that you're doing, just in case.
It's important, but a lot of people don't really think about it, because a lot of people live in a moment, and when you're doing, when you're creative, or when you're doing your projects, you're just living day by day, not thinking about 10 years in the future. Looking back, you might need to, you might be able to learn from the work that you've done in the past. At least, you could, if you did some good work and are not an idiot like myself. But that's a different conversation. Now, let's forward 10 years in the future. You're going to be like 14, 15 years in at Blizzard, hopefully. What do you hope the industry did right when it comes to preserving its stories at that time that it might not be doing right now?
I would hope that more studios invest in a archive. Not to say they're not, it is. But archiving is just like one of those things. If you think of any type of museum or gallery, it's not necessary. It is the lowest priority that's on fire. At all times, just because life keeps going. So it would be nice to
True.
make sure that as an industry, we're taking account to be responsible for the stuff that we put out in the world. And whether that's, I know that there's so many wonderful organizations and foundations on out of well, not out of the industry, but out of the corporations.
Yeah, out of the
that
publishers.
are doing game preservations. But I would love for more corporations to handle that internally and making sure that their ducks are in a row, because it shouldn't rely on the fans
Agreed.
to be responsible for the work that you're making.
Yeah, agree. Because what do you think is at risk now to be lost if we don't act? What do you think is the thing that we would lose?
I would probably compare it to if you think of any type of art form. If you think of paintings, if you think of like old vases and stuff, and if someone necessarily just hides it away in a closet and then that building gets demolished, you really don't know what you had. Or if someone who necessarily hid it in that closet for one time and then they left, and you don't know necessarily what the heck is in that closet, it's been boarded up for the last 10 years. It is just going to be on one person to figure out and parse through later on. So I think that's the one thing, is just like you have to treat it as an art form. You have to invest in it as an art form. I know just these last few, within the last, decade, people are now treating video games as an art form, but before they weren't. And so I hope that continues to grow, and that, it keeps getting recognized as a beautiful art that people are creating and preserving correctly, and, restoring as time goes on. Yeah.
So what do you hope you would be remembered by when people archive your life and look back?
That's a great question. I hope they remember that I tried my best. No, I'm saying.
Hey.
I tried. She did.
She tried her best. Yeah.
Tried her best. That's going to be on there. No, I really hope that people truly take every chapter of my book, every chapter of, what makes me a person, and realize that there's no direct path to the final destination. And because everyone knows that you might have a wonderful idea of what your life is going to look like, and then the universe comes
life happens.
Life happens. It's like, haha, no, of course not. That's not a truth. That's not where you're going. But I couldn't have thought to be in this position, when I was coming out of college. This wasn't anywhere part of it. So I really hope that people do realize, and, the younger generation, or those people who are wanting to make a shift in any part of their life, to know that, not necessarily go with the flow, but, try to open yourself up to all possibilities, rather than sticking to this one specific thing. Because if you hold on to a rope too long, you're going to get rope burn if it's just trying to tug away. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, my hands are very rope burned. 20 years. Like no,
it's mine.
I love Assassin's Creed. That kind of stuff. Wow. Yeah. So if people would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach out to you?
LinkedIn. It's funny enough. Yeah, just add me on LinkedIn. I usually respond pretty well if people message me. Yeah, LinkedIn's the greatest.
LinkedIn is pretty good. It's not too bad. It's a fun place.
Not too bad. I also have other social medias like Instagram, and I don't really use TikTok or anything.
No,
but yeah,
I don't.
LinkedIn's the best.
Yeah. I had a final question. I mean, I wrote it
Mhm.
down. Let me see. What was it again? Um, wow, I'm completely blanking out now. I'm not thinking about how much I hate TikTok. And like, sometimes, maybe I'm just too old for it. I don't understand.
I just doom scroll.
And then,
Uh,
but I'm afraid of that. I'm just gonna like
just
watch short form content and like be like AI slop and more slop
you
and
know, it just sometimes I just want my brain to shut off after thinking of all the things that I have yet to archive. I'm just like, no, phone.
yeah. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Fair enough. As long as you
Mhm.
know your limit and like
Oh,
don't go too long.
100%.
Because for some people, I'm not gonna mention any people, my partner, for example, if she can like doom scroll. She's not here, so I can talk about
Yeah.
it. It's okay.
Yeah.
No, but whatever puts your mind at ease. I think that's
Mhm.
the main thing.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, since we are almost out of time, a sort of final question. Maybe I have another one if it pops up again. But what is the biggest lessons that you've learned in your career so far that you would like to share with the millions of people watching here, the
Yeah.
entire world?
I would say the biggest lessons that I have learned in my career is do not shrink yourself. There is always going to be those who are uncomfortable with you being comfortable with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And to those, I say goodbye. Because there are moments where being a very loud, extroverted person can sometimes not play in my favor. Granted, I do tone myself down from time to time, but making sure that I stay true to myself uh, is something that is not compromisable. It took me a long time to get to this point, and I think you uh, should be able to be that. Of course, there is code switching.
Of course.
That's different. But you shouldn't change your personality when you're code switching.
No, no.
You just
It's like
it's a
they say,
dial.
oh, when the real goes wrong, you don't want to be that person at the office. That's
But
too
yeah,
much.
that's the biggest thing I would say. Keep being true to yourself, and knowing
How,
who you are.
how did you find? I mean, I know we're almost out of time, but how did you find that? Because I think that's the thing that
Yeah,
a lot of people are looking for. How do you find acceptance of whoever you are and is good, and embracing that?
yeah. So I'm on a wonderful team, and I'm one of the younger people on my team.
Hmm.
So I have learned a lot from my teammates who are very encouraging. And it did take having a good team and a good manager to be welcoming
Hmm.
to who I am and being like, no, that is what you are is actually a very superpower, because most of us being in the archive world, we are very quiet and we would like to hide in the corner.
Hmm.
So we're going to utilize your loudness and we're going to utilize that bubbly personality. So sometimes it does take other people showing you like, no, 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 no. You What you are is great. You really need to hone those skills, do the extra corporate learnings, LinkedIn learning or whatever, or go to conferences and continue to hone your craft. But there comes to a point where you just have to trust yourself. We all get imposter syndrome. I definitely had it for a very raise your hand if you have.
Exactly.
I had it for a good amount of time,
Hmm.
especially, we have this conversation of, just coming into video gaming and not knowing anything. But there comes to a point where you do know. This is your specialty. You do know. You are the specialist in the room. And that's that's the period. Like, you
Yeah.
don't let anyone try to squish your spark or squish your thunder and act like they know more than you, especially if
Hmm.
this is literally your job. um, and so there's a fine balance of, one, being supported by your team, and then also being supported within yourself and being like, oh no, silence, imposter. This is
Hmm.
me. I got this. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's why it's also important to every now and then just take a moment to to breathe and touch wood and realize where you are, because especially nowadays it's easy to get wrapped up and just keep on going and and
100%.
forgetting about what you've already achieved.
Yes.
Indeed, you need to have that feeling of, oh no, I got this. I've done this before, maybe in a different way, shape, or form, but I got this.
Yes, 1,000%. I think so many of us forget to give ourselves flowers. We love to give flowers to everyone else, but we need to make sure that we are filling our own cup and congratulating ourselves, whether that is doing like popping a little bottle of champagne every time you reach a goal, or going on that you binge food, whatever, but you should have a mini celebration for yourself every time you reach something that you didn't think you were going to do.
How do you celebrate? What was your latest celebration? How did you celebrate?
I am a foodie, so when it comes to we love food. When it comes to finally celebrating a goal and celebrating something that we have accomplished, take a moment. Let's go out to eat. Let's just have a moment to be like, oh shoot, we did that thing. That is, I did it. Didn't know I was doing it. I might have cried through it, but I did it.
You survived. You're still here.
Yeah. What drives you to do your best? That's a great question. I think I have this thing of ADHD, and when people say I can't do something, I'm like, oh, bet. I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. I like spite is great. But no, for me, it's really it comes down to wanting to prove, not necessarily prove others wrong, but prove myself wrong. Because even within having doubt, because there is doubt sometimes, being like, you know what, I can do this. Let's take a moment and be like, okay, if I don't do this, what will happen? Weighing the pros and cons, and how can I continue to just push through, even if it is uncomfortable? Because that's how you grow sometimes, is through the uncomfortability. So that kind of helps me strive to do my best. And then also I have 2 dogs, and so I have to afford their food. I have a lab pit mix. His name is Boogie. He is black.
Boogie Woogie, yes.
He is Boogie Woogie. And then I also just got a new puppy, and she is a little mutt. I don't know what she is. She is supposed to be like cattle dog, chihuahua, corgi. She's so cute. But her name is Nova. She is 4 months old, and she is my little piranha terror, and I love her so much because her teeth are so sharp. But they help me, be my best. And then of course my husband. I know he cares about them. Dogs.
No, exactly. My girlfriend would probably say the same thing about cats. She's like, my cats. Oh yeah,
my cats. They push me. I do anything for my babies. Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you, Lee. This was fun. I learned a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm happy to give some of my knowledge, and thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And to answer Chase's question, yes, of course I'm archiving these sessions.
Yes.
Because honestly that's the reason. Yeah, actually, it is one of the reasons why I'm hosting these sessions, because I think these stories like yours as well, Lee, or the people that I've interviewed before, it's important to archive these. And not per se for now. I mean, people that are watching now, thank you very much. Once again, leave a like, subscribe. Oh no, that's YouTube. Sorry. Anyway, these kind of things. Just like and share and these kind of things. But I think it's also for the future generation or whoever wants to watch this later. And it's like, oh, there's not many Black voices in the gaming industry. Yes, there are. And here's an archive you can look at.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So boom,
make sure you put these in the Black Gaming Archive.
Of course. And I'm naming, make sure that all the
naming them great and putting the metadata and all that other stuff.
100%. And if I need any tips, I know where to find you.
Yes, if you need any tips, if anybody needs any archiving tips for their personal life, I can give a little bit of tips. Not
all right, final question. A lot of people that do like kind of like meticulous work, their personal life is not very organized. How?
I am so
that's why the background is blurry.
Yeah, that's why the background is blurry. 100%. I'm so thankful for my husband to be able to be the organizing in the home, and I'm in the work, because it's so funny. The flip side is like, I don't want to organize my life anymore. I do it for work. Why would I do it for myself?
And I know what you mean. People are with me like, oh, you can your birthday parties are probably amazing. I don't host birthday parties. I don't want to do events.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me not keep you much longer. I see a lot of thanks from April. And April, thank you for sharing that link for the ESA Foundation Scholarship. Chase, big love back. India, thank you very much for watching. And for the people watching this later, not live, once again, leave that like and share, because it's good for the algorithm. And I think the more people see these stories right here on this side, I think it's important. It's important. And Lee, thank you for inspiring me. That was a great conversation.
Well, thank you. And I hope to come to Amsterdam one time.
Well, I'll take you to a good food place.
Yes.
Because I'm a fellow foodie. Got you.
Yeah. Well, bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For the people watching, thank you for joining. We'll be back next week with Tony Weaver Jr. for more conversations about bringing your voice to power. I'm Leon, and peace.